Um, there's there's a lot of I guess there's a lot of truth and just nuggets I feel like you've shared. A lot of things that we've talked about one on one, and a lot of what especially as far as the financial aspect. And I'm going to be actually speaking more on this, on my channel and on my channels, shorter videos, not podcasts necessarily, but
Good for you.
just shorter, maybe 5 to 7 minute videos, because I feel like that is something that you know you don't you're doing. It's something that I do, right? I have this discipline, in my life, um, but kind of speaking on reinventing, or not necessarily reinventing, but now maybe showing people how to do the same. Something that I feel like not that I figured out. It's not to say that I figured out anything, but at least I know that I'm at a level where I've been able to get out of, not major debt, but like pay off a good amount of my school loans, and be on track to be out of it, very shortly, as opposed to
Good for you.
having this for
20 more years.
right, right. Um, I know people that are that are are maybe perhaps our parents' age, that are still unfortunately struggling with that, or having the type of credit to be able to afford or get this and that or whatnot, or take the a good vacation, or being able to budget, being able to say, okay, this is what I'm coming in, this is what I have coming in, you know um, and these are my expenses. How do I make sure that this and this I'm covering everything? How do I increase you know my intake, and maybe decrease the output a little bit, the expenses, what's going out, and save that a little bit more? How do I think about that in that way? How do
Yeah.
I, different things like that. So I'm going to speak more on those
Uh,
things.
It's much needed. I mean, something else that's needed as well is, I think, conversations about investing in yourself.
Hmm.
Because if you don't invest in yourself, why should anybody else invest in you? If
Right.
you are willing to invest in yourself. And invest in yourself, it could be education, it could be in career, coaching, mentorship, it could be in your health, your fitness,
Right.
you know, like
Going.
making these investments, and for a lot of people, like, people thought I was crazy. I didn't really tell people, I just did. I'm not asking for permission, just do it. Like, if I told people that I was going to hire a coach to help me prep for an interview, people were like, why are you wasting money? That's good money. Somebody, no need for that. But for me, it was a game changer.
Right.
Results.
Right.
And so recognizing that there are seasons in which you need to invest in yourself. Sometimes it's monetary investment, sometimes it's investment of time in your learning, in your, you know, but that's important to do as well.
Let me I think one of the things that I want to pull out, that that you touched on a few topics ago, maybe, that maybe a listener might want me to delve into a little bit more, is when you were talking about consulting, and kind of the what caused you to maybe feel like you wanted to leave that space a little bit more, and problem solving, and feeling like, okay, how do you why don't you can you talk a little bit more about that, how you were able to approach that in that sense, not necessarily getting away from it, but like being in that place where you're able to analyze a problem, whatever it is, or not even a problem, but the company wants to do X, Y, and Z, and being able to analyze that and problem solve and come up with a consulting, kind of answer or problem, just problem solve and critically think to be able to give, viable options either way for them to consider and choose to implement, however, to whatever degree they do or don't do that. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. To make sure I'm understanding the question is like to understand the process by which I helped companies make decisions. Is that
Right,
correct?
right, 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 right.
So I think the first thing is understand what the problem is. Like people might tell you the problem is X, but when you get on ground and you ask them thoughtful questions, you realize the problem isn't that your marketing department is doing a job. The real problem is that your products are focused on a segment of the market that's declining. So you have to understand what the real problem is. That's the
You
first
you
thing.
said maybe the products are focused on a sector in the market that's declining.
For example, yes. So let's for example, this is
No,
making
no, no.
I'm making this up.
I was
Let's say it's Barbie. Let's say it's Barbie. Mattel owns Barbie. I have nieces. That's why it came to my head. um, Mattel says, "Come on, guys, our Barbie, this Barbie line is not selling like it used to. We think our marketing department is not doing a good job. Can you guys help jazz them up?" And we come in and realize, actually, guys, it's not about marketing. It's you guys are focused on selling Kens, right? And little boys no want to buy Kens anymore. They want GI Joes, and little girls don't want Ken either. So the problem isn't marketing. The problem has to do with the product market fit. It's not a good fit. So I think the first thing is really understanding the problem, and you get there by asking thoughtful questions and listening a lot. Um, you know, developing empathy for people and really build the relationships and just really listen and then ask thoughtful questions. That's the first step.
nice.
Second thing then is then like you just develop hypotheses about what you think could be wrong. And it doesn't have, it's helpful because once you have a hypothesis, you can then say, okay, I think if the sales of Ken has been going down, a hypothesis could be, oh, people don't like the Kens anymore. So if that's your hypothesis, how are you good for that to be true? What needs for that? How do you prove or disprove your hypothesis? So what needs to be true for that to hold, right? And then you then conduct research. You then ask more questions and say, okay, so little boys, what kind of toys do you want to play with? Stuff like that. Um, but really, I think thinking through with hypothesis, prove or disprove, it's very powerful.
Wow.
Um, and it can quickly help you iterate because the first hypothesis you realize, okay, that's wrong. Next, you might try the next hypothesis. Or you might then, in the course of you asking questions, digging around, getting data, you might uncover something like, bingo, that is the answer.
Gotcha.
So it's being comfortable with um, problem solving through a hypothesis driven approach.
Nice, nice. Asking basically for asking questions. I come from a science background, and so
Yeah.
the scientific method,
Yeah.
the null hypothesis, in statistics,
Mhm.
being able to either confirm or deny that, or based on the data, based on the research, things like that. But I think that was awesome. I just wanted to dive a little bit more
Sure.
into that to just to get that.
The
But
other
I
thing
think
that's powerful is like having, really great coworkers and ridiculous amount of resources at
right,
the firm that um, when a lot of people who have been doing something for a while, they start developing pattern recognition. So if you've done like have this, right, they've seen a lot of people over 10, 20 years and they see patterns like, okay, this is what's wrong. I've seen this before. And the same thing for partners at consulting firms and other consultants, frankly. Like, you know, I was lucky. I was only there for about 3 years, but I probably worked on about 18 different projects.
Wow.
So I saw a lot. And so even for me, I started developing pattern recognition. And so that can be really powerful. And so that really helps form pretty good hypotheses that, can really help lead you down the right path. And
Right.
that it was important at the firm I worked at was, we were told that, your objective is to solve the problem. Don't develop a hero complex. Meaning,
Mm.
you, Afalabi, you don't need to figure out everything that Exxon or Mattel needs to do. Reach out to other people. Access to experts within the firm. Bring the best of the firm to help solve the client on this problem. And for
Right.
me, I found that very um, encouraging because I could reach out, and there's no shame in asking for help, asking
Right.
for guidance. Hey, I'm struggling over here. And before you know it, you're getting pulled into other projects. Hey, obviously we watch confidentiality, but it's very important. But
Yeah.
just ask you so how would you approach this? And you're able to also offer guidance. And it really is a team sport. And that's how life is, honestly. It's a team
Yeah.
sport. So we're
That
all trying to get there.
that
Yeah.
that is absolutely amazing. And I think it's I think what's great is, tying that back into maybe even personally for somebody that, might be watching this or listening to this podcast, you know, uh, looking to reinvent yourself, rebrand yourself, do something different, you know, being able to say, okay, let's ask questions. Let's ask thoughtful questions. If you think this is what the problem is initially, okay, be logical and be honest, and be able to also pull people in and say, okay, what's really going on, you know, um, and then being able to, okay, go from there, you know, reach out to your resources and, personally on a more micro level, one-on-one level, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to get into. Okay. And this is what needs to be done. These are patterns. It's funny you mentioned the whole pattern recognition thing. I think I heard uh, Robert Johnson, the president of what is this? What's the name of his company? But he's like the richest black man in America, or
Yep.
maybe in the world.
I know him.
Yeah, I was listening to to some interviews that he did, and he mentioned about, well, I guess he was working early on in his career, just pattern recognition, and
Yeah.
being able to, kind of problem solve and, put in the work, to at these firms, to where, he was able to move out of there and get into his own kind of company and things like that. But it was off of the success that he had with that with those initial companies that he was with.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
even as a person, sorry, go ahead.
I think great points. I think there's something else, I don't know if I touched on, is know yourself. And this is something where I'm big on personality tests. In the last 3 weeks, last 2 weeks I've taken three.
Okay.
And one of those tests I've taken in about 9 times now.
Wow.
And the results sometimes move a little bit. But, I'm just learning myself still, and ask for feedback on what people think your strengths are. Does
Yes.
not mean they're right, but listen. And when you start seeing patterns, if everyone's telling you, oh, you're great at sales, or you're good with customers, there might be something there.
Right.
I would be careful about taking one piece of feedback and saying, oh, that's what I am. The danger of a single story. Sometimes they're
Right.
right, sometimes they're wrong. But
Right.
I find, even in my relationship, it's kind of weird, but my wife and I, when dating, early on, after we were talking for like months, and then finally when we like okay officially like together, like, early on like we I suggested that we take a personality test, and this is why I know I'm the right person, because I know there are some people who were like, what's wrong with you? But it wasn't personality test, it was actually love language test. But that to me is part of knowing yourself. And for us, it was helpful because it helped us understand each other and understand ourselves. And that has made communication more easy and
Right.
helped to avoid conflict. There's always going to be some conflict, but it helped, understand. It really helped. I think it's awesome. But coming back to professional place, like, just the more you can know about yourself and then focus in on the areas where you have an unfair advantage, that's it. Like, that's the dream. Like, you're operating in an area where you're naturally gifted. Ah, that's the dream. You'll have energy there. That's like a great side hustle. Doesn't matter what your 9 to 5 is, but if you can find something that helps you leverage some of your gifts, whether it's you love hosting people, maybe an Airbnb thing, or like there's so many side hustles you
Right.
can come up with. Um,
For me,
that Yeah, go
for
ahead.
me, for
Oh,
me,
for
Marty.
reinventing yourself. Sorry, reinventing yourself. That's helpful
No,
to.
for me, like
Yeah,
the idea came to me. Like it was like this light bulb idea. Even to, I mean, for this podcast,
yeah,
I was, I think I had just reshot, my first or second, first few videos on, that I put on YouTube, and I was, kind of looking at, um, trying to learn about that space, that YouTuber kind of social media space, and so I was looking at videos, looking at looking up people on Instagram who kind of were in that space like that, and who were speaking in that space, and the idea came to me, and it was like, whoa, you have all these contacts, these friends, these
yeah.
networks who have done and are doing and have gone through amazing routes to get to where they are, whether it's uh physicians, pharmacists, optometry, I have a my my last guest on there, my friend
Yep.
Goke, he's a dentist. Even my first guest, Tony, who we were both at UT
Yeah.
together. Now he's in project management, you know, but his story, how he got there, and kind of something that he did, in the summer of when we both graduated, and that coming out of that '08 depression, now '09, and not being able to get good jobs, and he decided, hey, this is the perfect opportunity for him to pursue what he had always wanted to do, and so he went and traveled, and so that was my thing, and that light bulb, and also on top of that, my natural, just kind of, I love talking. I know that about myself. I love talking. I can talk, you know, uh, and just kind of that gift of gab. You hear it, and so I was like, whoa, I should do this. And boom, I was like, I called a couple of friends and gave them the idea, and some were like, yeah, some were like, nah, well, it was more like I asked them if they would be interested in being in the podcast, and they were, a lot were supportive. Some were like, no, and I didn't take that, personally or offensively or anything like that. But that was kind of how I started this podcast. You know,
Hmm.
and just okay, and going from there, and then thinking more about the YouTube space and all this stuff. What are some things that I already do, or that I've already done, that could maybe benefit someone else? Okay, so
Yeah.
finance, you know or let's say leadership or healthcare, pharmacy, like, okay, so I started a series called, Ask a Pharmacy Leader, where I started kind of answering publicly questions that I get and I've been getting,
Yeah.
throughout my career, even before I became a director or got into leadership or whatever you want to call it, and so I put that out there, and it's been very interesting. I've enjoyed it so far, but I think it's similar to what
I love the spirit. I mean, we're so fortunate to be alive, and we don't know how long we'll have.
right,
And let's take advantage of it, seize the day, obviously enjoy your life, but also like try things, or just put yourself in new situations, because time goes by very quickly
oh yeah,
and we don't know how long we have. And it's such a gift to be alive at this time, to be healthy, to have access to the internet, to be able to read. I mean, not everybody in the world has these things.
right,
So we are incredibly fortunate. Um, and let's not, I think, even though sometimes you get caught up in like, oh, I want this, I want that, but just pausing to like practice gratitude
right,
and just enjoy where you are while you're going to where you want to. That's
right,
important too, like, because time will pass. And yeah, I get really encouraged by people like you who are trying new things and pursuing ideas, just executing. I love it. It fires me up. I'm sure it fires up the viewers, but I love that energy and we
thank
need
you,
more of it. We
thank
need
you,
more people to like go out. I think it encourages other people to go out there and live the life of your dreams.
right. I appreciate that. What you were saying about, don't be grateful and be thankful for where you are, you know,
Mhm.
um, while also knowing that you can, right? You have the power and you can, so enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, enjoy life, enjoy the places you are, because even me personally, looking back on, you know so some of the places that I've been to, and in my journey, the last company, not the last, but the two companies ago where I'd mentioned, even though there were obstacles in that, I'm looking back now like, man, I miss it. I kind of miss it. When I was there, I couldn't wait to leave.
Yeah.
But looking back now, I'm like, whoa, that's you know, um, and so that's amazing. I think that definitely we should appreciate where we are. It reminds me of the great American philosopher by the name of J. Cole, rapper. I was listening to his song. It came on, like my daily, a mix. It's called Love Yours. And in it, he was saying there's beauty in the struggle, so don't sleep on your level, you know.
Mm.
Um, there's always going to be someone that has a fancier this or a bigger this or more money in this and that, but appreciate where you are and understand that, you know um money doesn't bring happiness, it doesn't bring joy. You're thinking you want to be in X and Y. You're looking at this person who has X, Y, and Z, but one, you don't know how happy or unhappy they are. You don't know, if you don't know the stress in their life, you don't know, and you also don't know what they had to do to get there. And if you
Mhm.
knew, or to sustain that, and if you knew, would you still want that? you
Yeah.
know and you don't know, whatever they're going through, You know, the
It's so true. I mean, when was my tough? I had a tough year recently, and I was reflecting. I was looking back at my Instagram, and I was thinking, if a person did not talk to me, they would not have known that I had a rough year.
right,
If Instagram, and yes, like it wasn't a horrible year. Like there was some tough stuff, um, but there was some good stuff too. But I think, and then for me, it wasn't that I was hiding the struggle per se. It's just that as humans, for me, I'd rather focus on what's good. And I use Instagram as kind of like my photo album storage
yeah,
device. But if every person looks at Instagram and thinking, oh man, that life must be so good, it must be like that, and they creating this false narrative. It's very unhealthy. I personally take fasts off Instagram. I haven't had the app on my phone for the last, I don't know, 2, 3 months. I do check it still on like the web app, but not as frequently
right.
because it can it's not always healthy.
Hmm.
And one has to be very thoughtful about what you allow into your space. Even with news, I used to be a news junkie. Like age 8, I was with my dad, newspaper, giving the Guardian, you take to this day, I'm like reading there. I've always loved the news. But then I realized I need to protect my peace.
Right,
And and so I'm being thoughtful about what I allow have access to me.
right.
And yeah, so that meant, some things had to go as well because I have to protect my peace.
Yeah,
And, and if I want to be in a space of gratitude, if I want to be in a space of thinking of, just want to be in a healthy, joyful space, I want to stay there, you have to be actively defending. Because if it's
right,
not the news, the social media, someone, why are you always happy? Or like,
right.
there's good who's just a Debbie Downer, and you have to, like, even with acquaintances and friends, some people you can't have full access to you.
Yep,
No, you have to protect yourself.
you really need
So,
to. Yeah,
so I
you're
think
absolutely
just being
right.
intentional about some of those things. The gratitude one, it's something. I think gratitude is key. Um, and also I think being generous as well,
Right,
because there's so many people. I've met people from all walks of life, and from literally people who like don't know where the next meal is coming from, like I'm sure you, to people who are from these extremely wealthy families that you read about in magazines. And money helps a bit, but beyond that, like, people are struggling.
yeah,
People are very similar, Um, they just want a good life for themselves and their family for the most part.
right.
And they struggle with like various things. Am I doing enough? Am I enough? Should I do this? Should I do that? Or, with having issues, like people are struggling with the same problems. So just be kind. Like,
Yeah,
when you have a choice to be kind or right, be kind. Like, because you don't know what that person is dealing with,
right.
and you don't know when next you need that grace.
Mhm.
Because, and life, I've been in situations where people have not been gracious to me. There was one, I'm not going to go into the details, but this person, I made a mistake. This person had an opportunity to correct me privately. They didn't. They went to include my boss's boss, my boss's boss's boss,
Wow.
then and then their peers in Europe.
Wow.
on a small mistake, relatively small mistake. And I was not pleased about that. I was pissed. I was like, I'm just starting out, trying to do good here. And like, and I felt if you really cared about me, this email you sent, you're sent to me, hey, Afro, you made a small mistake, just fix it real quick. The fact that you went ahead and copied the universe of people suggested to me that you weren't interested in just uh, helping me
Yeah,
fix
you
the
wanted to
problem.
humiliate me.
Exactly. And you know what happened? About a year later, this person made a huge mistake. If mine was like a 3, theirs was like a 500.
Wow.
They made a huge mistake, Visayo, and they started calling people. They called my boss's boss to help them fix. But everyone had gone home. They were like, oh, everyone's left the office. She said, they called my boss. He said, I left the office too. But I said, Apple is still there. And so this person who humiliated me in front of various managers, came to me in the hour of need to solve this massive problem he created. And of course, I helped them. But it just showed me that, wow, if I am fortunate in the future, like, always choose grace. Like, be good. You just be good to people because you don't know, you don't know. And B, like, be if I'm fortunate to have the kind of level that that person had, I hope that I'm also very kind
Right.
and gracious to people because this life, things can change just like that, and you don't know when you're going to need help from someone. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Did the person just out of curiosity, did the person ever apologize or anything?
they never apologized.
Wow.
My like, um, yeah, boss is like they're going on a thing, just ignore them. And it was to me at that point in time, I was like, I think I've been working about 5 years. It was deeply unsettling for me because here's a person who I looked up to. I thought I was learning from them. I thought I saw them as like a mentor. I thought we had a good relationship. But they decided to that so it made me question
That
that
their their
relationship.
their motive and their yeah.
Motive.
I
And
think for people like that, like you're saying, they had the opportunity
I
to
didn't say it was a he, it was a she, they.
they had the opportunity to to correct you in private or to alert you in private of, hey, this was a mistake, this is how you should have done this instead, but they felt the need to tell the whole world, right, that they that they found this error that you did and throw you under the bus, you know and humiliate you. There are people like that. I've come across them as well. um it's more of a it's more of a their insecurity, or it's an insecurity where they feel they need to do something to get the bosses, kind of maybe brownie points.
No, this person was several levels ahead of me.
Oh
So
wow.
it was yeah. So that's why it felt really there were several levels, like 3, 4 levels. And that's why it felt, I mean, I don't know their motivation. They may have been, maybe, I don't know their motivation. I don't know why
Wow.
they did what they did. I don't really care at this point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I think in that space, like I wrote an email that I couldn't. I was like, okay. just get on my system. But he cannot send his email. So I wrote it in Word. Then I took a break. I called my dad, like, Dad, see what call and see what's happened here. And it's like, okay, we got this. And it's like, okay, whatever you do, you respond with grace and class. That is how I raised you. That is who you are. This person, do not descend to that level. That
Right.
is not who you are. That's not how you were raised. You carry yourself well. Everybody makes mistakes. And it was a really basic mistake. Like, I'll tell you the mistake. I had the wrong unit on. So let's say something is like meant to be meters. I wrote feet. Simple. But to now, on something that went out to clients, that was the mistake. Very basic.
Right.
It's like a typo in a newspaper. I mean, it's less than ideal. It's
Right.
not perfect. And so for me, it's okay. So you're right. And so I went back. I typed up an email, something along the line saying, "Hey, X person, wow, this is a great catch. I apologize for not catching this myself. And in the future, I'm going to redouble efforts to maintain the high level of work which I normally produce, something along those lines, or which we aspire to.
Right.
And that's it.
Right. Did
But you yourself, you have to also make sure double checking your work because you can't be having mistakes.
right.
Yeah.
Did you get reprimanded for that?
No, like
It was that small that it wasn't even
that's
worth.
all.
Gotcha.
No,
Yeah.
but for me, it was important to me because I realized not everybody who lies to you and talks to you and coaches you, not everybody means you well.
You're absolutely right.
Some people have sharp elbows, and maybe there are other motives. I don't know. Like, I don't know. But I was just like, if a person wants to correct a junior person who you have coached in the past, you're a person of power. If your intent is to fix the problem, you pull them aside and say, hey, I noticed you did this. Don't do it again. Fix it.
Right.
Simple. That is how and treat people well. Because this person is old enough to be my parent.
Wow.
Imagine if day comes and your child is now my employee. Treat people the way you want your child to be treated in the workplace. Everybody's someone's child. That's
I mean,
that's someone's husband, that's someone's spouse,
right.
that's someone's father, that's someone's mother.
Not that
Treat
it
people with dignity.
not that it really matters, but just do you think maybe was race a factor?
I don't know.
Was
I
this
don't know.
person of a different race?
Oh yes. I mean, most everywhere I am, I'm the only person of my race.
You're the only
um,
black person of
oftentimes,
face.
yeah, many times.
Okay.
The person was a different race, but I don't know. I think that person may have. I can give them grace. They may have been having a hard day, a spike. Maybe they've gotten feedback that quality had been slipping. I don't know. Maybe they were and saying, I don't know. But for me, because I received it like, again, as an international student on a work visa, I was very sensitive to like, yo, I have to perform well. I can't lose this job. If
Right.
I lose this job, I'm gonna come back to Lagos. So, so I'm very much like, I want things to go well. I take my work seriously. I I put in my own best effort. I want to do well. I really care.
Right.
I'm aspiring for more. So I
Right.
was now wondering, oh my gosh, all these bosses, they don't know much about me, but what they're hearing now is not good.
Right.
So what does that mean for my progress at this firm?
Right,
I
right, right,
was the firm, like it wasn't an issue. And I think the way I handled it showed them that, you know, I can take, I can handle things even keeled
right,
and be responsible because, frankly, one of my managers, like, yeah, their email was uncalled for, and anyone reasonable can see this is a blatant overreaction.
right.
Don't worry, like you're doing a good job, all that
That's awesome.
stuff, and it was very reassuring.
That's awesome.
Um, but it was just like, again, this person is 4 levels old enough to be my parent. I mean, I look up to them. So I think for me, I'm also now sensitive to like, okay, how do I give feedback to people? And even if it's like a sibling, a friend, or like somebody who's more junior to you in the work, how do you engage with them?
Right.
Choose great, choose kindness.
Be kind.
Like be kind. It's
Yeah.
free. You don't have to, you know, you don't
And
have to.
it's it's also, I think it's also, um you can be right, but if it comes down to being right versus kind, I've heard that you can be
Yeah,
kind, or you can speak the truth in love. The Bible says.
I think that's the dream.
Yeah.
I think, and I think you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond.
How you
And
respond.
so if you need to take a break like me, like walk it off, call a friend, do that. Don't send no nasty emails.
Yeah.
Like, let me tell you, like
Yeah.
that doesn't really, that just inflames things. But like, I think people are also saying, how do you handle that?
Right.
And it's telling of your character.
Right. Right.
And
That's
so,
awesome. That is absolutely, awesome. But we've definitely had a nice
oh, I,
long chat and time, just you know going back and forth, talking about careers, talking about leadership, talking about entrepreneurship, talking about finance, talking about corporate America, and navigating different spaces. ES's extra ES's on the end of that. But this has been really definitely insightful, and definitely a very good chat and a good podcast and a good time. I appreciate you coming on. Is there being kind? I think that's probably a good last word. But other than that, is there any other thing that you want to leave? Let's say someone is someone wants to is listening, that they can take. Being kind is a good one. We can leave it at that. Is there anything, or is there anything else that you would add?
oh, I think be intentional. Um, one thing I think of, I think it sounds really morbid, but I recognize and I think about my death. I like to
Wow.
read obituaries, and so being intentional, recognize that you will not have unlimited time on earth, and so be thoughtful about how you spend your time. Like, I'm in a place where I'm personally reorienting my life to fit more of how I would like to spend it. So I think to do, because you don't know how much time you have. Hopefully we all live to age 90 plus, in good health and sound mind. But don't take that stuff for granted. So I would say be intentional and be thoughtful. Like, what is it you want out of life? Write it down
Right.
and start moving, start taking small steps to get there, but do so by being kind and mindful of others.
Okay. That
That's
is
it.
that is amazing. That is, being intentional, even with your time. And
Yeah.
there were so many nuggets really that you put in there: protecting your peace, protecting your mental. just space, writing things down, being able to say, okay, this is the reason why I want to leave this space. This is the reason why I want to go into this space and what I'm hoping to get out of it, and kind of making sure that you're able to, that you do that. I mean, there's so many things that you touched on that I think we can take a lot out of, and so I definitely appreciate this. We're gonna we're definitely gonna have to reconnect, definitely one-on-one off after this, and maybe get you back on here at some point. I'm talking to your sister. Shout out to Busayo. Um, little
Yeah.
little caveat, little quick thing. You were at UT with your big sister Busayo, right? And
Yes.
so yeah, I know the both of you, and I know she's gotten into the podcasting as well.
Mhm.
So shout out to her, still
Yep.
doing her thing, and so. But thank you so much for this time. I know that it's 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 uh it's not easy to always give that time to just to not just to just anyone, but just in general, making time. I know that, given different things, but being able to make that time, I do appreciate it. And also coming on here to be able to share your story with the world, with um, and when I say share your story, it's even if you don't, even if, and that's why I love this, is because even if you haven't, been this, you know, you don't have this small business or whatever product yet, you know, um, I still think that there's still a story there. It isn't until you get that there's a story. I still think even coming in, and so that's what I love about this. With a lot of my guests, that when I try to get them on the podcast, they're like, "Oh, what have I done? That's great. What is it? Well, I just did that." But I'm like, no, for us, sometimes we don't see who's looking at us, or we don't see what we do really, even that we just do it. A lot of times we just do it, even professionally. Like myself in leadership, that was my first experience in leadership, and it was tough, but so many things that happened, I just, you just figure out a way and you just get through it, and so I think it's awesome to be able to sit back and talk. It isn't until you're some multi-million billion dollar, person or company or entity that we can say that. So definitely appreciate you. Regards to, shout out to your wife, and to your sister, to your family, and thank you, and uh, thank you for being on the podcast. And
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
thank
Great
you so
chatting
much.
with you.
Yes,
This is
sir.
good. Therapeutic for me too. Like, oh wow, just walking through memory lane as well. So it's been good.
Thank you. Let me, and with that, we will thank you for tuning in. Whoever may still be watching at this point, or even, um, you know, regardless, just thank you for tuning in. This is Highlighting Greatness with Fisayo. Thank you.